session might be a bit faster than the previous session because we covered a part of it last time. So last time we talked about general WolfePak, general ledger reports, chart of accounts, wells, well groups, how we went into a little bit of technical things. What are the surface facilities? How does oil flow? How does gas flow and all that stuff? And today we are going to talk about your accounts payable, your vendor invoices, and how to pull data for a particular vendor for a time duration, and how to run different types of vendor reports. Bhavesh, you might be, I'm sure you're already running some of these reports, but still
Yeah.
it will be good to have you in the meeting. Okay, so before we dive into today's session, does anyone have any questions about our previous meeting?
No. But I wanted
No?
to remind you, you said you'd send us the logins and how
Yeah,
to set off the WolfePak.
yeah, I'll email it to you. I remember.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's get started. Cool. So we all remember how to access WolfePak. So last week we looked at the general ledger report. This week we will be looking at accounts payable. So let's go to the accounts payable module. And like I said in the previous meeting, each of these modules has its own unique identifier. In general ledger, my sub account means my property. When I look at accounts payable, I'm paying all those invoices to my vendors. So my sub account, my primary identifier will be vendor names. And similarly, when we go into revenue and billing, my primary identifiers will be owner names or asset names. So first I'm here under accounts payable. Let's go to sub account. And now over here, I can see all the details about any vendor. Now it's showing me the first vendor in the table, and the name is Mary E. Hooper. That's the address, and then different options. Let's say I want to find a vendor. So I will come down here and I'll click on find. Let's turn on cursor. Okay. I'll come down here and I'll click on find. Then subtable is basically my vendor table. So I'll leave that as same. I won't change it. I'll go to my sub account. And now under sub account, it will give me a list of all my vendors. So I can scroll down and look for the vendor that I want to search for, or I can just type it here at the top in the search bar where it says contains. Um, so which vendor should we look at? Let's say basic, type basic, press enter. I have basic energy services. I'll select that, double click. And now it shows me all the details for basic energy services. That's the name, address, AP options, AP coding, insurance, and so on. Now, for each of our vendors to set them up in our system, we need a few things from them. First of all, we need their W-9. So W-9 is a form which is used in the United States. Uh, like that is your tax identification number. In that form, you fill out what is your name, what is the name of your company, what is your tax identification number. Like in India, we have PAN card. I don't know what is the equivalent in Nigeria. I guess it's tax identification number and other things. And then depending on the type of vendor, some vendors need to provide us a certificate of insurance because they go out to our locations and perform work on our wells. So they perform work on our wells. So when they are performing, they might do something wrong and cause some damage to a property. So we ask them to have insurance in place. So in case they do any damage to our property, we are covered by insurance company. But it is not required by all the vendors. It is only required by vendors who perform service on our property. And then third thing that we need from all the vendors is called MSA, which is the Master Service Agreement. And Master Service Agreement is basically a contract between the two entities, which governs their working relationship, how things will how the business will be conducted, what services will be performed, at what location, how much money, and all that stuff. Then, so we need all this data to set up a vendor in our system. And Pam Chow in our office, she's the one who sets them up. So if we need to set up any new vendor, um, we ask the vendor to send all these documents to vendor.setup@prolineenergy.com. That is a dedicated mailbox which we have for this. And let's say you want to add a vendor, you will come here at the bottom, you will click add, and then you will enter all this information over here. And you can also go here to document section. Okay. I'm not adding a new one right now. So basic. Okay, so then you can go to the document section, and here you can upload all the documents. Like we have COI. COI means certificate of insurance, um, credit card authorization form, and all that stuff. So we keep all the information related to a particular vendor over here. And if I want to view this document, I'll click on this image icon over here and click on view edit document, or I can also click on view all documents. It will open all the documents that I have on this page. So I'll click on view document. And there you go. Um, and then similarly, when you're talking to these vendors, sometimes you need to take a note that this vendor called and is asking for payment, or sometimes we strike different type of deals with vendors. We have a payment plan with them, or sometimes let's say maybe we want to blacklist them. Anything, it could be any sort of communication that you want to add a note in your system for everyone in the company to know. So in that case, you can come here under the notes section and you can add a note here, insert new record, and then you can type your notes over here. Cool. Then if you go to AP coding, insurance, ACH, we don't do ACH. We pay all our vendors via check. Contact information, basically their phone number, email address, name of the person we talk to, those kind of details. Now let's come to AP options. And over here at the bottom, you will see there's an option called invoice history. If I click this option, it will display me a list of all the invoices that we have for this vendor. And again, if I want to view any of these invoices, I will come to this column over here called doc. I will click on this image icon. And it will show me the invoice. You can arrange them in ascending order, descending order, different things. Check status cleared means it's already paid. Yeah. Blank means it's okay, no, void, voided, and so on. So let's go back. So any questions so far before we go ahead? Yeah, sometimes there's an option over here which says yes, pay, no, don't pay, pay monthly, and so on. Sometimes you want to close down a vendor. You want everyone to know that it's don't pay them right now. So you can click on no, don't pay option. So that way, if anyone else also logs into the system, they will know that we don't need to pay them right now. And then you have tax ID over here, which is what we were talking about. tax class, what kind of entity is it? Is it a partnership, LLC, sole proprietorship, and so on. Okay, so that is one way to check the invoice history and also check details of any particular vendor. Any questions so far before we move forward? Can I get a quick yes or no?
No question.
Okay, Hamdella, Yani, you guys good so far?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said you can add blacklisted customers, like you can add a note saying this customer is blacklisted. I wanted to ask if a situation occurs where you actually have to delete a vendor, sorry, I said customer, a vendor from like the accounts and it's not showing and you've actually blacklisted this person, would it come up in a situation whereby maybe in a year's time, this person wants to work with the company again, would like the notes come out again or would have to
So
confirm in another manner?
we don't blacklist customers. We don't blacklist any vendors. I just gave that out as an example. Like,
Okay.
yeah. What I meant is if there is any kind of communication with any vendor, we can make a note of that in the
Added
system.
notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Not from me.
Okay. All right. So then now let's move to the next part. So we saw how to look at a particular vendor and search for all the invoices for that vendor. And now we can do another thing, which is called the reports section. Under reports section, I can go to invoice. And over here, I have different options. I can see invoices by vendor, and I can also see invoice history by vendor. Then I can insurance and all that stuff. Uh, we will be basically looking at two main things, invoice and payments. So let's go to invoice. Let's go to invoices by vendor. So it will ask me for what all vendors. So you can print a list for multiple vendors, or you can also print a list for a single vendor. So let's say I want to print for Mary E. Hooper. So I'll select that. Then I will enter the date range that I want all the invoices from this person. So let's do January of 2015 till date. Then paid date range. GL date is the journal entry date when we entered those invoices in our system. And paid date is the date when that invoice was paid. Um, Similarly, under AP account, we have two different AP accounts. One is 2010 and the second one is 2012. The main one that we use is 2010. 2012 is just our placeholder account that we sometimes move invoices to that we may want to put on hold. So sometimes if you're working on a project and you're looking for a particular invoice and you're not able to find it under 2010 AP account, you can also try looking for it under 2012 AP account. So I'm going to stick to 2010 for now because that's the main one we use. Then we'll click view and it will print me a list of all the invoices for this particular vendor. Now let's try for multiple vendors. Let's do from Mary E. Hooper to Barry Coates. Hit view and then it will give me a vendor wise list of all the invoices. And I can also see which one is paid and what date it was paid on and what was the check number that was used to pay. Let's look at another example. CSI. Okay, now let's increase the date. Okay, so here you can see the journal entry date, that is the date of the invoice. Reference number, that's an internal system number, invoice number, description of the invoice, then whether it is due or paid. Paid, it shows the date it was paid on. Due, it shows which date the invoice is due. Bank, check number it was used to pay, and the amount paid. So sometimes vendors reach out to you and they ask you, hey, what is the status of my invoice? And you can generate this system for them, which will show these are all the invoices that we have for your company. These ones are paid and they were paid on this date. And these ones are pending, will be paid on so and so date. So this is one way of pulling out um, pulling out the statement or history for a particular vendor. And you can also do it for multiple vendors and so on. Now, if I want to save it, I will go here at top left and click on Save Report. And so since this system is based on a cloud computer, if you click on desktop and documents and all these things, it will redirect you to the desktop and documents on the cloud computer. But you want to save it on your local computer. So I will select local C on upstream 01. Upstream 01 is the name of my company, name of my computer, and I'm selecting C drive on my local computer. And in my C drive, now I can access all the folders on my C drive. What I have done is I have a folder already saved by the name of WolfePak downloads. There you go. I'll select that folder. I recommend that you guys do it too. And under this, I can name the file. I usually, whenever I save files, do it in this format: year, month, date, and name of the vendor, and I can hit save. Now, if I want to save it as a PDF, I will select Adobe PDF file, or if I want to save it in as an Excel file, you can go here and select Microsoft Excel workbook and hit save. Say OK. And now it will save the statement to your local computer. One thing WolfePak does is whenever you save a file, whether in PDF format or Excel format, it opens it up. This opens on your cloud computer, so I recommend do not work on this file. Whenever it opens a file, close it down, go to your C drive, the local file on your computer, open it from there, and then edit it if you need to edit the file. Any questions so far? All good. You guys can just show a thumbs up if all good. Cool. OK. So that is one type of report that we can run. Another type of report is this one, invoice history by vendor. This is just list of invoice history by vendor comparing activity between current year and prior years. We don't usually need this report. Yeah, we never really use it, but the format is same. You enter 2010, you enter date range, you enter the name of the vendor, and then you hit view. Now, payment summary, you can see payment summary by vendor. Now I can look for one particular vendor across all my accounts. So I can do 2010 to all the way to 2013. So it will show me all the accounts. But I cannot select vendor now. It will show me all the payment summary. So this is also one of the reports that we don't use a lot. We usually use the invoice by vendor report, so I can check history for a particular vendor and what is the status, if it is paid or not. And second, we use the sub account section where we can look at the invoice history and further details about any particular vendor. Now, next thing is which is useful is this mark invoices to pay. So we don't usually do it. This is where Miss Yinka works. She goes in and she selects the vendors to be paid. But I'm just showing it to you guys. Chinonso has a task where she comes in and checks, but most probably you guys won't need it But if you have any prior, I believe if Hamidella has any prior accounting software experience, this is where you can go in and mark your invoices to be paid. That is pretty much it for the vendors section. Let's see. So we talked about accounts payable, vendor invoices, how to pull a data for a particular vendor for a time duration, and we also looked at vendor reports. Uh, since we have already spent like 30 minutes, I guess we can use this time to cover the next section also, which is revenue and billing. What do you guys think? Okay, Bhavesh says yes. Yanu, what did you say? All good. Hamidella, anything before we move forward? No? Okay, cool. So the next section, we will talk about revenue and billing. We are going to talk about what is division of interest, your well level, owner level, DOI reports, your JIB statements, and what are the different types of reports that we can run. And then the last module that we will look at is the AFE module. And AFE module is something that will actually need a lot more time and will have its own um, dedicated session. So let's talk about the next one. So here again, I'll go here to the drop down menu, and now I will select revenue and billing. Now under revenue and billing, my primary identifier is an owner. So in your trading with Aziza, you guys have gone through what does working interest mean, royalty interest, override royalty interest, and all those things mean, right? Um, So whenever there's a property, we have a list of all the owners in that property, who all are the working interest owners, who all are the royalty interest owners, and who all are the override royalty interest owners. And we prepare an Excel sheet where we have the name of the owner, their address, their tax identification number, which is the SSN in United States. What is their working interest, what is their royalty interest, and it has all that information. And this particular Excel sheet, we sometimes call it the deck. So you might hear it a lot in your accounting meetings. You will hear the word being used. Did you check the deck? Check the deck. Which deck are you using? Are you using this deck or that deck? So that's what people mean, that list, particular list, which tells us who owns how much working interest and how much royalty interest. Another thing that people call it, it's called division of interest, because as literally the name suggests, division of interest. So if I want to check my DOI or division of interest for any particular property, I will go to this particular module over here, module number 83. Then I'll go down here and click on find. I'll under property section, I can click on these three dots, which is basically my drop down menu, and I can select whichever property I want to look at. Let's say I want to look at Vaquero A2. I will select that. And then the next date is called which deck you want to use. So what happens? Your deck or your ownership in a particular well or in a particular field, it can change with time. So let's say you and I entered an agreement. The agreement is till the date well pays back. This is our division of interest. And once the well pays back, your division of interest will change. That is one possible scenario when your deck can change. Second possible scenario is there are some complicated deals. A simple deal is whatever comes out of the ground, this is how we will divide it. A complicated deal is if oil comes out of the ground, this is how we will divide it. If gas comes out of the ground, this is how we will divide it. So in that particular case, you can see multiple decks for a single property. There could be a deck called oil deck, or there could be a deck called gas deck. or there could be a before payout deck and after payout deck. And once you abbreviate it, it's APO and BPO. Before payout deck, after payout deck. But here at Proline, what we do is to keep things simple. We use one standard deck, and most of our deals are also not that complicated to have separate decks for oil and gas. So we name our deck as the blank deck. Sometimes you will hear us saying use the blank deck. So you won't see the name blank written over here. By what we mean by blank is select this option, which is blank. So we always leave the deck part blank. And then next part is your effective date. Now, whenever you check your DOI, it's very important to enter the correct effective date, because each month what happens is this month I can go and I can buy Hamadela's interest. So up till July, Hamidella owned 20% working interest in that property and 15% NRI in that property. But this month she sold it to me. So effective August 1st, Hamidella owns 0%. And earlier, if I owned 10%, I now own 30%. So the deck changed because this month Hamidella sold her asset to me, or it could be any other reason. Maybe Hamidella and I worked out some side deal that, hey, for 6 months, you will give it to me and then I'll give it back to you. So it could be anything. So it's very important to enter your effective date. So let's enter August of 2023 and hit OK. And it will show me the deck. It will show me name of the owner code, what type of interest they have, whether it is royalty for R, W for working, and O for override. Then there's another section over there, which is called suspense code. Now, pay means all is good with this owner. You can go ahead and pay them their interest. And then there is some codes here like LO9. LO9 means it's in suspense. And then there is similarly a code for LO3. I don't remember what LO3 was. I'll check and let you know. So please remind me to check that for you. But that both LO3, LO9 means this particular owner's account is in suspense, and it could be in suspense for a variety of reasons. The most common being, like I said, whenever we set up a vendor in our system, we need certain documents from them, like their W9, their MSA, their certificate of insurance, and so on. Similar to that, we need some documents from each of the owners to have them entered, their information entered in our deck and in our system. And before we pay them, we need to make sure we have all that documentation, because at the end of the day, it is someone's money and we need to properly account for it. So for owners, we require a W9, and there is a document, there's a legal document, and the name of that document is division of interest. So whenever we buy a well, we send out those DOI documents to all the owners. And in that document, we basically write that, hey, we are the new operators of this well. And as per of our information, Hamidella, you own 20% working interest, 15% NRI in this well. Please confirm, sign this document and send it back to us. So that is called DOI, sending out the DOI to owners. So we need to receive that signed DOI back from all the owners. And sometimes those owners don't send it to us. So we put them in suspense, because till we have our complete documentation, we are not going to pay anyone. And sometimes what happens, since this is an inherited information, we bought these wells from someone else, we might have a bad address. Our document never got delivered. So in that case also, we don't pay them till we confirm we have all the documentation. The next column is working interest. You can see here at the bottom, it sums up to 1. Your NRI, that sums up to 1. Your effective dates for different ones. See, the effective dates are different. For this one, it's May 2018. For these guys, it's January 2018. For these guys, it's July of 2022, and so on. So it's very important to have your correct effective date. So this is where you can view all this data. Now I'll click on menu. Now the next section is owner. Now there are different owners in each property. Right now, I was looking for a division of interest for any particular owner. Now it's possible that I am one of the owners and I have an interest in multiple properties, and you want to see a list where Vikrant list of all the properties where Vikrant has an interest. So I'll go to owner, and then similar to your vendor module, I can add an owner. I can go to click on find, click on sub account and search for a particular owner, um, and so on. Let's say I'm here at this owner, John Amick. I'm under revenue billing. It gives me a quick summary. I can go to the notes section. Let's find a owner which has some records. Yeah, let's look at this lady. I can next. Okay, this guy, BP guy. So under notes section, I can add different notes whenever we are talking or communicating with these owners. Under document section, we can upload all the documents that we receive from them or the documents that we send them. Then there's a section aging information sometimes. So for NRI, we pay them for their share of the revenue. But if it's a working interest owner, they also pay us for their share of expenses. So that is your accounts receivable with them. And then you go to revenue billing and it gives you a quick summary of everything, like other owners with the same tax ID. So we need to search for this. These are the last two checks that we sent out to them. Sometimes we have a minimum payment criteria that if your interest accumulates to more than $25 in a month, that is when we are going to send you a check. If your revenue this month is only $5, then we are not going to waste paper and stamp money to send you your check. And the annual limit is $100, regardless of how much you have accumulated. We'll send it to you by the end of the month. And all other details, a quick summary about this owner. Now, if you come here to the right-hand side, you will see there are different options. First one is the payment and billing history. I can select this and I can see for a particular time duration how much this guy has paid and how much we have paid by year. I can check it by property. So this particular owner has interest in two different properties in Hinojosa and Jemison. So I'll click on plus and it will show me the revenue it has accumulated over time. So this one is just to view the data, and we can also download all this data by going to the reports section, but we'll come to that shortly. Now, again, I want to view data. I can go to DOI list and it will show me a name of all the wells where this particular owner has a working interest or a royalty revenue interest. Cool. Any questions so far? No? All good? Amandela, Yanu, all good? Yanu is good. Amandela, good. Cool. Okay. So now we looked at a particular owner. Now, similarly, you can look at the property. We don't really use this a lot. The next main thing to check here is the reports section. So I'll go to reports and then I can um, pull out different reports at the owner level, at the property level, and at the DOI level. Let's start with the DOI since that's the first module we looked at. So when we were here under section 83, we were viewing data, but now I want to download it. So I will go here, DOI, division of interest list, D1, enter my effective date, enter the properties that I want to look at. If I want for a single property or if I want multiple properties, like if I want all the 6 Rachal wells, that is the Rachal field, I can select Rachal 1 all the way to your Rachal 6. Dex from, we always leave it blank. So let's leave it blank. Accounts from, we'll leave that blank also. Owners from. So If do I want a division of interest for one property, show me all the owners, or for all the properties, show me show me the owner, all the properties for this particular owner. I can do both. So let's leave it like that and click view, and it will show you this is the deck for this well for each well. And now again, if you want to save it as a PDF file to share with someone, you can click on save report, and you can save it either as a PDF file or an Excel file. The process remains the same. Now, similarly, I can go to property. Property master listing will give me the list of all the properties that we have. We don't use it that much. Let's go to owner. Now I want cash flow by owner, or I can first view a summary of all the checks that we have paid to any particular owner. So let's look at this BP America company. Check date, I'll leave it open, property open, and click on view. And this report takes some time to run because it's accumulating a lot of data. And it will show me all the payments that we have made to this particular owner for all the properties this owner owns. There you go. So this is the check number, how much royalty interest they earned, what was their taxes, any other income or deductions if they had. You can see that in the other section. And then you will see net, which is the total amount they got paid. And over here at the bottom, you can see the check summary. Similarly, you can run it for multiple owners at the same time, or if you want a particular owner and only a particular property, I can select the owner here and this option, and I can select the property here under this option. Similarly, I have other reports. We can do cash flow by owner, and we can do settlement by owner. Settlement by owner is the most common report that we use. We can enter any particular owner and we can see their statement. Like we were generating a statement for the vendor, similar to that, we can generate a statement for all our owners also, which will, for vendors, you saw a track record of um, all the invoices. For owners, you will see a track record of all the payments that they have received. Cool. And you can just do it on a well level also. This is the settlement summary. If I go for a bigger owner, no reports. Anyway, you can select an owner from here, and again, you can save it as a PDF file or an Excel file. That process remains the same. Now, next thing is, which is very important, is called joint interest billing, or sometimes you will hear during the meetings called JIBs. So JIB basically stands for joint interest billing, and it is one master statement which is generated every month and sent out to all the owners. It shows them that particular owner's details at a well level, um, and it's sent out only to working interest owners. It means working interest owners also own a share of the expenses and not just royalty revenue. So they also have to pay their share of the invoices. So that particular statement generates a list of all the invoices, the total charges, their working interest, their corresponding share, and then how much they need to pay us. So let's do settlement summary for owner. Let's find an owner which we know will have contract. God. Let's do media. While it is opening, let's also talk about the cycles in oil and gas accounting. There is there's a revenue cycle and there's a billing cycle, and you must have heard this during the Thursday meetings. So the revenue cycle is when we distribute out revenue to all the owners, whether it is working interest or royalty owners. And billing cycle is when we send out statements to working interest owners and ask them to pay their share of expenses. So revenue cycle is always 2 months late because we receive revenue 2 months late. So a company, let's say we sell gas, that's for the month of July, the company that bought gas and oil from us will take the month of August to do all the settlements and do all the calculations. And by the end of August is when they will pay us. Then in month of September, we will get all in the first week of September is when we will get paid for the month of July and receive all the statements. Then we will do our internal processes and enter all that data into our system, do our revenue reconciliation with the bank in the month of September. And by mid to end September, we will distribute that revenue to other working interest or royalty interest owners. That is the revenue cycle. But for the billing cycle, the month of July is already over. We are in mid-August and all the vendors don't wait for a month to submit their invoices. They submit their invoices right away. So by mid-August, we will have all our July invoices entered into our system. And in August, we will be good to send out a statement to all the working interest owners that these are the expenses and this is your share of the expenses. Please pay it to us. So that is your revenue cycle and your billing cycle. Your billing cycle is what we call joint interest billing, the JIP cycle. Your revenue cycle is always 2 months late, but your billing cycle can be done the very next month. So we just generated a settlement summary for this owner, Urban Oil and Gas, and it shows me at a well level the net income, expenses, and how much they owe. Similarly, now you can download this in PDF file or Excel file and as required. That is pretty much it on the revenue and billing cycle. Any questions so far? Yes, Bhavesh. Uh, okay, you want to do. Oh, cool. Hamdela, Yanu, any questions? Okay, Yanu had a question. You're on mute, Yanu. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, pretty cool. No questions. I mean, I get it. It's a pretty much intuitive software. And for people like Hemdela who already have a background in accounting, Bhavish and Urvisha also has a background in accounting. I don't think it's a very difficult software to use. I'm an engineer by background. No one gave me training on this software. I just opened it one day and thought like, okay, let's play around. What does this button do? What does this button do? And now I'm giving training to you guys. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. I'm sure you guys will be able to go through it. Um,
You are an inspiration.
oh, thank you. Okay, so Yeah, those are the different types of reports, and you can also play around once you get access to it. Um, and in the next meeting, we will now talk about AFEs. The AFE meeting might also be broken down into two different sections. In the first section, we will mainly talk about what is an AFE, why we do an AFE, what is the difference between an AFE and a cash call. We will talk about all those theoretical concepts. And then after that, depending on how much time we'll allow, I hate to do sessions longer than 1 hour because then everyone loses interest. After that, we will talk about how we do AFEs at Proline. And you guys don't need to do it. It will be Samuel. I'll just go through the entire process, and different people do different things. So it's good for the um, entire team to know how it works. Cool. Anything else, guys?
No.
All right, then. Yes, I'm done. Go ahead.
Since we've done the Wednesday session, like we've covered what we're supposed to do next week, Tuesday. Sorry, rather tomorrow, Thursday. Should I change tomorrow's session to AFE and add Samuel to the call, or just wait till Tuesday for that?
Let's leave it to tomorrow. Tomorrow we can do the first part of the process, and then next week we can do the second part of the process.
Should I add Samuel to tomorrow?
Yes, please. Yeah, drop him a message and check with him first if he doesn't have any other meetings, and add Samuel to the meeting. Yeah. And if time allows, if it doesn't take too much time, like today we finished one session in 30 minutes, so we covered the other one also. If time allows, we'll do the whole thing tomorrow. And Bhavesh, it will be your responsibility to download this video and upload it to YouTube.
Okay. I will.
You can create, I guess if there is a training, if there's a playlist for accounting thing, or you can create a new playlist and call it WolfePak training and upload all these videos there.
Okay. I checked with my Gmail and I checked that no notification related to you.
Okay, so do one thing, log into your YouTube. And under YouTube, go to your, there's a section called Your Channels and see if Proline Energy channel appears there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right, guys, take care. Talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye.